They wanted to see if you'd turn a little bit on me. But you didn't. It's all a crock of shit anyway. I'm still taking you home.
Kinda have to. I don't have a key.
I'm here for John holding all the men's feet to the fire. The fact that he asked them all that, why did you all keep quiet when this comment was made? Did you approve of it? Why would you keep quiet? And you could see the men squirming. Yes, they disagreed with it, but nobody actually held Jack's feet to the fire. And I don't get why. And also, what is Jack got over Jonathan that allows him to play him like a little puppet? I think there's something he's holding against Jonathan. That's why Jonathan agrees with him. But anyway, I digress. Hey there. Thanks for stopping by. It's your girl Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Married at First Sight Australia, Season 11, Episode 17. Here we go. It's time for another commitment ceremony. So it's the morning before the commitment ceremony, and everybody's sort of reminiscing on the dinner party and the events that took place. Obviously, the biggest issue was the fact that you had the Lauren and Jack standoff. And so it's interesting to hear everybody's point of view of the incident and what happened. And the thing that stands out the most is the muzzle your wife comment. And so I'm surprised that nobody else stuck up for Lauren. I don't know whether it's because they felt that that was Jono's responsibility and so they needed to keep quiet. I know for a fact, Timothy, in my opinion, I feel he kept quiet because of the comments that Lucinda had made at the commitment ceremony, where she said she did not want to get involved in other people's drama, and she sort of called out her husband for involving himself in somebody else's marriage. So to hear people's opinions, everybody is appalled by the comment. Everybody is appalled. And sadly, Lauren and Jono are now in separate apartments because of the fact that Jono didn't stand up for his wife. And for him, I don't know why, if he knew he wasn't going to stand up for his wife, he didn't just keep the secret, in my opinion. And it came across as though Jack had something on Jono, and Jono was afraid that if he revealed the truth about what Jack said, then Jack would expose his secret, because he said to him, I'm very loyal. And so for Jono to still have to go in separate bedrooms with his wife because his wife is upset doesn't make sense. I think he should have apologized to his wife. I think he should have had a word with Tori aside from everybody and told her exactly what was said and stood up for his wife. You have Jack saying, he doesn't feel bad about what he said. At the end of the day, if people come for their marriage, then he's going to come for them, or the two of them are going to come after those people. And it's like, why? Why is that your first response, that if people come for us, we're going to come for them? Make that make sense. It doesn't make sense to me, because instead of you being always defensive, you can defend your marriage without being disrespectful. And sadly, you were very disrespectful, derogatory, defamatory. It's countless to name the things that you were. And so I don't get why your biggest takeaway was what you did was right, and at the end of the day you were protecting your marriage. For Tori to be sitting there and behaving like nothing went wrong, I still don't get. If I were her, I would have pulled Jono aside to have a conversation with him away from the dinner party to find out exactly what was said, whether Lauren is telling the truth or whether she's lying, instead of her just sitting there and pretending like nothing is happening. I think she's still embarrassed from what was said and is just hoping that it all washes over. So the couples arrive for the dinner party, and you can see that there's still tension. People still feel some type of way about the events of the dinner party. You have everybody side-eyeing Tori, because Tori arrives and then she sits there with Jack, arm in arm, and she kisses him, and it's like everybody's wondering, how could he disrespect you that much and you're still sitting there and pretending like everything is okay? We all were there. We all saw the comments that he made about someone who's your friend. And so for you to sit there with your husband and be all lovey-dovey when your friend's household is in flames because she was trying to protect you doesn't make sense. And so I personally don't get it, and you can see everybody's not impressed. The problem, in my opinion, with Tori and Jack is they think they're at some sort of competition and they need to be the best couple, so they're going to put on a front for everybody else, and it's not making any sense. So the experts call up Lucinda and Timothy, and we all know that Timothy has been saying there's no romantic spark there with Lucinda. He understands Lucinda is an amazing woman, but the fact that, he's not physically attracted to her is their biggest problem. They say they've gone on dates, they've done a lot of events together to sort of try and grow their bond. And it's like Alexandra says to them, you are on Married at First Sight. You're not a friendship show. You should be looking for a romantic attraction or romantic connection. Have you felt like holding her hand? And he says, no. And so Lucinda, when Alexandra says, well, this is a dating show, this is not a friendship show, and she says, yeah, that's how I feel as well, he then gets into his feelings and is upset that she's throwing him under the bus. And it's like, she's not throwing you under the bus. She's just expressing her opinion. She can't continue to back you when you're wrong just because you want her to be on your side or you want someone to cover up for you. You are wrong. If you don't like her romantically, why are you choosing to stay? If you want a friendship, the two of you can leave the experiment and go and be friends. You don't need to stay on the show to be friends with Lucinda. And even John said that to them, that, if you are not going to at least attempt to be a romantic couple, then the two of you, I don't want to see you here. You need to go home. There's no point in you being here, because that's the truth. They can go and be friends at home. They don't need to be on the show to be friends. And so I don't get why he continues to sort of push for this friendship or push for this connection that he's not willing to put any input in. And you could see the side eye, the smug look on Tori's face, and it's like, I wouldn't, say anything if I were you. Yes, he's wrong for how he's treating his wife. He's not romantically attracted to her, but at least he hasn't disrespected her like your husband. He hasn't told other men that I'm not attracted to my wife. You're free to sleep with her if you want when we do a wife swap. So Lucinda and Timothy, when they go to sit down, Timothy is furious. He even says so in his confessional that he's angry. And it's like, why are you angry? So you want Lucinda to just go along with you and not call you out when you're wrong? Make that make sense? And she wasn't disrespectful in the way she said it. I think he didn't like the idea that she challenged him in front of people. He expected her to just get along with him and just say yes to everything he said and be a Tory. And so I give it to John for calling him out and telling him that, if you're going to be combative and if you're going to not give her grace and hold whatever was said today against her, then you might as well go home. I think he's not used to being in a loving and committed relationship. I think this is his problem. I think he's used to connections where people are after something in particular, or where it's very toxic and there's a lot of argument and sort of disdain. And so for him to find someone like Lucinda, I think is shocking. And I think this is why he's this upset. Anyway, next up is Eden and Jaden. We all know they're happy. They're in a happy place. They have been physically intimate, which is good for them because they said it's part of a relationship. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens next, because you can see Jaden is gone. He is gone, and I hope Eden is as gone as he is, because he says everybody knows that he's crazy about Eden, and he's always about Eden wherever you see them with the other groups. So I am not surprised that the two of them decided to stay. Next up is Sarah and Tim, and it seems the producers or the experts have decided to start with the happy couples first before they go digging deep with the not so great couples. So next up is Tim and Sarah, and Tim and Sarah are in a good place. They seem very happy. I think Sarah being called out by the experts really sort of shook her last week, and she's realized that she's in a better situation than maybe her friend Tori, and I think this is why she's decided to put in the work. Or maybe she's just decided she wants to be on the show, so she's going to try and be as good as possible. They say, they are messing about. So I assume maybe that's the reason why she's in a better space and she's given her what she wanted and she's, settled down. Next up is Ridge and Jade, and people are uncomfortable because you never know what's going to come out of Ridge's mouth. And so to see how happy they are, to see how comfortable they are, he obviously had to throw in one of his inappropriate jokes. But it seems Jade is at peace because he sort of brings her out of her shell. She says, she's a very reserved and very quiet person, and so to have someone like Ridge really is good for her because he's very bubbly and he brings her out of her shell and is very affectionate, which is to be expected. So I'm not surprised that they both wrote stay, even though, Ridge said, Jade makes him feel like a pig in shite. And it's like, oh my God. People were just like, oh, this is who he is. We have to accept him for who they are. But it's first week, so they're bound to be in a good place unless they're just there for the drama. Next up is Tristan and Cassandra, and here's what I think. Tristan needs therapy, there's no doubt about it. Tristan, sadly, whoever broke him did so much damage to him that it's a struggle to get him out of his head. He lives in his head 24/7, and because he lives in his head, whatever's going on in his head at times trumps what's going on in the real world. This woman has said she likes him, she likes the person that he is, she likes the way that he treats her, but just the fact that he's not intimate with her is her problem. And so for him to sort of doubt, I said it before that I think he knows he's punching and he doesn't know how to satisfy this woman. Instead of him sort of going to the guys that are a bit more mature, people like Jade and people like Richard, even Timothy is not a good example at the moment, and just having conversations with them about his relationship and asking them for advice. Even the experts, I think if they went to couples counseling, they would survive as a couple. They would survive because every time they get to sit down with the experts and have a conversation, they do amazing. But then once that's over, they're back to square one. And so I think the first thing Tristan needs to do is he needs to, close the door in his head that's always taking him down this dark path and throw away the keys, and then start to sort of live in the moment, because they keep telling him you have an amazing woman. I don't think his mother's going to be happy with him because she seems to like Cassandra, so I don't know how happy she's going to be when he and Cassandra, if they don't work out, because she wrote stay, he wrote leave. And I think after speaking to the experts, he felt bad. I don't know whether it's because he felt bad that he did that or whether it's because he got clarity. It seems every time he speaks to the experts, he gets clarity, and then once he gets home, he goes back into his head and he starts living there and hearing whatever he hears, and then we're back to square one. You can see everybody's rooting for them. So I really hope he does something different. This time at least he paid attention when he kissed her, because normally it's just a peck and he looks away quickly. This time at least he was a bit intentional with his peck, so that was good. The worry on Michael's face as, Cassandra was being dealt this news, you could tell he's very close friends with her. Even when he saw her at the dinner party, you could see the excitement on his face because I think they were very close. Anyway, next up is Stephen and Michael. And as expected, they brought up the second choice thingy. And I love the fact that the producers, the experts were able to sort of address it and say that, I remember John said, sitting down with Michael and telling him that, the person who had matched him with had decided to do a runner and how heartbroken he was. And so we told him we'd find the best person for him. So please know that you're a perfect match. We worked really hard to match the two of you. And it's not just something that we did on a whim. And, give this a real effort. And I hope they do, because they really seem to be a good match. They seem to be aligned, as Stephen said, on most of their values. So if nothing else, I hope he takes that into consideration and he really puts in the graft and sort of they succeed as a couple. Oh my God, I really I'm now afraid to say I like any couple, just because every time I like a couple, they do something wrong. Next up is Ben and Ellie. Ben, I think this week has been happy to be flying under the radar because all the vem has been towards, you have people like Timothy, you have people like Jack. So he's been in the background. And so I don't get where suddenly Ellie has found the vim from, because they're next up, and she says, she feels like he's been playing a character, he's been trying to control the narrative of how he comes across, and it's like, what in particular is he doing? You need to let us know. I think this was the beginning of the end. I feel like, because apparently at the moment she's dating Jono, I think they were already seeing each other with Jono, and she was looking for an excuse of how to sort of untangle herself from her marriage, because the camera sort of panned at Jack, and it's like, does Jack know something about these two that we, the viewers, don't know? Make that make sense? Anyway, at decision, you have poor, Ben writes stay and she writes leave. Am I surprised? No. I'm surprised she's actually found a voice and she's now able to speak up for herself. I feel like someone coached her into saying this, either her cousin or one of the producers. That's just my opinion. Because John tells, Ben that you've been put on notice, you need to do better. Ben is sort of giving me Collins vibes, but hey, it is what it is. Next up is Andrea and Richard. And I felt some type of way last week when Richard was describing, their activities when they were asked about intimacy. And I'm not surprised that Andrea took it some type of way, that she felt offended. And I like the fact that she held his feet to the fire. He knows she likes him, but he also knows that there are certain things she's not willing to tolerate. And I think he's apologized profusely, you can tell. And for her to describe him as an amazing man, I think all of us have triggers from our past. And it seems this is the situation with Andrea. And I think this is why she feels some type of way about the comment that Richard made. So it's now up to the two of them, as the experts have said, to decide how are they going to overcome those problems that they have in their relationship. I really like that they're willing to put in the work. They are the mommy and daddy of the season. So I think everyone was heartbroken for them, given the fact that they were both struggling. They're two people who really like each other, who enjoy each other's company, who value one another. And so for them to be faced with this obstacle whereby they are struggling to sort of find themselves and sort of rise against a challenge that they faced, I think is the biggest problem. I really wish them the best. I really love them as a couple. I think they're good for one another and they're cute to see. The experts are messy because they keep the most toxic couples for last. It makes sense. And next up is Madeline and Ash, and poor Ash. First of all, Madeline, everybody walks in front of the couch. She went behind the couch and it's like, why? Anyway, Ash is then asked to speak, and he spoke about his confusion in regards to his coupling. It is confusing that one minute you're eating meat, the next minute you're crying and you're telling the cows that you're not going to eat them again. And then you go from that, you suddenly have a premonition at the dinner table and you're telling him you're hearing voices. You ask him about events that happened as a 16-year-old boy. It would be confusing to anyone. And I think he's very patient for putting up with that. If that were me, I would have walked out. I don't care about the notoriety that comes with being on the show. I would have just told him, I'm sorry, but I'm done. It's time for me to go home. And so for her to be asked the question, what is going on? She's putting on a performance, as far as I'm concerned. I've said this before and I'll say this again. She's putting on a performance. She is there for the celebrity that comes with being on the show. She's not there to look for love, because she's actually asked, are you here to look for love or what? And she says, I'm here to look for love. And so it's like, if you're looking for love, then why are you saying that you want to leave? Make that make sense. I don't get it. I think she's just there for the celebrity that comes with being on the show, and she's going to do things that make her stand out, because at the moment there are way too many characters and she needs to find a way of standing out. So if this, psychic thingy is what's going to get her over the edge, over everybody else, then she's going to do that. He wrote stay, she wrote leave. Why he wrote stay, apart from just wanting the notoriety that comes with being on the show, I do not get. It doesn't make sense, because no one has the bandwidth to put up with all that sort of traumatic and sort of antics that come with being with Madeline. She wrote leave, she was spoken to, and then she changed her mind, and it's like, I think she's just there to get herself a show, as somebody said in the comments, and she's not there to look for love. That's the impression that I get. And surprisingly, she didn't get any messages during this time, and it's like, why? What happens to the voices? Do they only speak to you when it's you and your husband and the experts are not there, or when there's not any major event taking place? Because nothing happened during the dinner party. I expected her to receive, readings and to have messages for everyone at the table, but we didn't hear anything about that at all. Next up is Jono and Lauren. The audacity for him to apologize to Jack. I have a feeling Jack is holding something over Jonathan's head. And whatever it is, whether it's the fact that maybe he might have been having an affair with Ellie during the experiment, something smells fishy. Something is not right. Whatever it is Jack has over his head is the reason why he feels the need to apologize to Jack and Tori. Is the reason why he feels the need to stick up for Jack and Tori. And I wish the experts had asked him, I know they said who's more important, Jack or your wife, and he said my wife, but there is more between the lines. I think Jack is holding something over his head, and whatever it is, this is why he's sticking up for Jack, because he's worried that whatever it is, if it comes out, it might be more embarrassing than him betraying his wife. I give John kudos for calling out the husbands to say, why didn't anybody else say anything? Yes, they said it was wrong, but still, it seemed everybody backed down. I don't know whether they didn't want to create any drama for themselves and their couple, or what it was exactly. I would have expected people like Jaden to stand up, because he can take Jack any time of the day. So I don't get why they all feel intimidated by Jack. Does Jack have dirt on them that they're afraid he'll expose? What is it? I don't get Jono. I wouldn't want someone like that in a relationship. I'm someone who loves peace, but someone who is that sort of weak, sorry for lack of a better word, that he needs other people to speak up for him, I don't get. And he still didn't seem apologetic about it when he was being asked. For Tori to sit there and not sort of understand that these people saw something, I don't even know why even Alexandra didn't question him and say, I hope they ask him when Jack steps up that, did you not tell us that you were not attracted to your wife? And for Jonathan to agree that, yes, everything Lauren said, he's the one who fed her, and yet still apologize to Jack doesn't make sense. Jack is holding something over his head, and we will find out soon. They both decide to stay. Am I surprised? No. I think they are now doing it just for the fame. I think Jonathan is doing it so that he can spend more time with Ellie. That's just my opinion. And I'm sticking to it. Jack is really sort of, manipulating this situation, and I don't know why they're allowing a narcissist to be on this show. I remember Married at First Sight UK, they pulled that couple out when they felt that it was now becoming very toxic, because when they're called to the couch, he starts to pretend that, I feel bad, I feel really sick, because I don't feel good about what I said, and I feel bad for ever saying that would never come out of my mouth. And for Tori to back him and say, oh yes, he would never come, those words would never come out of his mouth. He was backed into a corner. He is a master manipulator. He has managed to manipulate this woman to do anything he wants and anything he says. And so for her, it's now a matter of pleasing Jack and doing whatever Jack asks her to do. I don't get it. And also, I feel like, they are playing games. Tori and Jack have agreed to stay on the show and be on the show, because after the cameras leave, the producers are sort of recording them having a conversation about, they tried to back us into a corner and to turn you against me, and you still stood by me. So some good days are good, some days are bad, but at the end of the day, I'm still taking you home. And it's like, this is toxic. This is scary. I don't get why they don't pull her out, and I don't get why she would want to put herself in that position. That shows that she's a poor little girl who's very vulnerable and has been fed to this wolf and is just devouring her whole. And she doesn't have the backbone to stand up for herself, irregardless of what she was saying. This is not a good look for her. This is not a good look for him. And I can't wait for the two of them to go home. I think we've got enough drama without the two of them staying. But anyway, I digress. Thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 16. Bye guys.